In this episode of Detroit Performs, a designer's material isn't what you think. An artist creates sculpture out of everyday objects, and glass etching cuts to an artist's roots. It's all ahead on this edition of Detroit Performs.
Funding for Detroit Performs is provided by the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs and the National Endowment for the Arts, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the exciting 5th season of Detroit Performs. I'm DJ Oliver, your host, kicking things off in style at the Museum of New Art, otherwise known as MONA. Now, MONA is one of a kind in that it can be a pop-up museum in and around Detroit, but its mainstay location is right here in Armada. I'm going to be taking you through some art throughout the show, but right now, let's get to our artists. First is Matthew Richmond, a designer who creates dresses so beautiful they've been seen on runways and in fashion events. From afar, they look like fabric, but look closer and you'll see just how unique they are.
When a lot of people see what I do, it's almost really hard for them to fathom it. What I do is outside of the box, and I think it's a good way for people to think. You need to think outside the box. You need to open your mind. You need to see what else can we do? What else is there out there? I never really necessarily wanted to be an artist. It was a complete accident. I had moved to Ann Arbor to go back to school, and in my first apartment, I actually ended up putting a bust form that I'd pulled out of my parents' basement into my first apartment. And it sat there for probably about a year or so before I actually decided to do anything with it. And when I did, I just basically was bored one day. I think I shut off all the TV, turned all the computers off, everything, and just kind of let my mind flow and creativity flow, and I created the first paper dress. The most exciting thing about creating the first paper dress was the fact that I didn't even know I could. So I'm seeing this dress for the first time, I'm like, wow, I created something very unique. I impressed myself, so I was like, whoa. I kind of figured it might be part of my calling. And then in like 2010, 2011 is when I actually established the paper dress code. Even though the company is the paper dress code, obviously I have an umbrella of materials that I work with. But paper is one of the materials that I'm well known for. And I make them durable enough to wear with just really care, just taking care of them. I don't treat the paper or anything like that, so the dresses can biodegrade organically, and I think that's the great thing about them. A lot of people like the dresses when they're brand new, crisp and clean, and they actually take on a whole different look and style as the dress ages. So I have dresses that are, you know, as old as since I've started doing it 10 years ago, and they still look really cool. I talk about upcycling because I clearly I do, and upcycling is just taking, it's not necessarily recycling, but it's taking it one step before you would recycle it. So I do use a lot of newspapers, I use phone books, and outside of paper I use VHS tape and bubble wrap and magazines. My creative process is really funny. Occasionally I sketch. Generally when I'm working with clients, they would like to see kind of like an idea of what the dress will be like. And so I will sketch things out for them. And a lot of times I will create from my mind. So something I was inspired by, something I saw on a red carpet, or it could be something I saw in the trash. It really just is a combination of all these things meshed together, and it just kind of comes out of my brain. It starts off with me draping a bust form, and I'd get a base down. And it really depends on the style of the dress. So the different materials and things I use for the structure is, you know, plastic and paper and, you know, petticoats for the structure, and really just kind of build on top of that and go from there. Sewing for me is tape and glue, and a lot of people are leery over it, but for me it's natural. And the models I've worked with over the last, 8 years, just it's natural for them. They always say positive things. They love how it looks, they love how it feels on them, it feels natural. I think the most unique thing about working with the material, which I call my fabric, working with that is, for me, really unique because I can get different styles and different designs and textures just from that material that I would not be able to get with fabric. So I generally will, I do pleating with paper, and you can do that with fabric as well, but it looks a little bit different with paper. And I can do it with bubble wrap as well, and it just takes on a whole different shape and form. Where if you were to create with fabric, it may just lay flat depending on what fabric you're working with. For instance, I worked with this car interior material, and it was like a faux leather. And I started pleating it, but it wouldn't pleat like paper, which I wanted it to, but it wouldn't just because it had this foam backing on it. And so it started popping out like a flower petal. So I said, hey, this looks even better than what I originally planned on for. So I ended up cutting around the hard shapes and making these giant flower petals. And then it turned into this gorgeous, beautiful dress and ended up being featured at the auto show. I'm basically designing the dresses for a unique niche. So it's not like everyday person's coming to me. It's somebody who wants something different. So, and that was one thing that I actually struggled with in the beginning, was finding out who is my customer. And I've really discovered that my customer are businesses, other people who are looking to market themselves. It feels great to create from someone's logo because I don't think in the beginning of the process, when I'm contacted by someone who wants something made out of their logo, for their business, I don't think they really know what they're getting into when they first do it. They see it and they're kind of fascinated by it, and then it's almost like they're taking a leap to do it. And when they do, they're very excited, and they definitely reap the benefits of it. And I know it sounds odd to say that, but it's not every day you see someone walking around in a paper dress. So when a company has a dress made out of their logo and then they bring in a model wearing this dress, people are fascinated by what this person is wearing, and then on top of that, they're seeing this dress out of your logo, and it's like I said, it's a walking billboard. With Art Van Furniture, I like to, specifically with businesses, I want their logo or whatever they're trying to convey featured on the dress. So I'll make sure maybe different types of furniture, or there's sometimes pops of different sayings in the fall catalog. For instance, it might say modern style or something like urban, and I'll make sure that these are popping on the dress because I know that in their catalog, that's what they're trying to convey. I created this business from turning off technology and really focusing on my creativity. This whole idea of paper dress code came from, really just me being bored, if you want to really get down to it. So I think that's really unique. So I always encourage people to, shut your phone off. I'm guilty of it myself. I'll thumb for hours of a day through my phone, and really, it's like, why? And it gets so boring at some points, and it's like, who cares? Shut it off and live a little and see what you can do.
To find out more about Matthew Richmond and the paper dress code, as well as all the artists we feature, head to DetroitPerforms.org. This piece really caught my eye, and it just happens to be Spring by Nancy Labert Einstein. Nancy uses recycled objects, including beads, popsicle sticks, really whatever she can get her hands on, to create her sculptures and interesting photographs.
I feel the need to create. It's really interesting to me that my pieces are so intricate and I have so much patience for them, but in real life, I don't have that kind of patience. And it allows me to express and show my insights onto a surface. My medium is sort of complex. I build sculptures, for lack of a better term. They're mixed media, they're assemblage. They use a lot of repurposed materials. I have all kinds of stuff that people give me. When you go in the studio, you'll see there's boxes and bins of it. My husband sometimes wants to kill me because of what I end up coming home with. But it's utilizing these things in a different way and taking them out of the context that they were originally conceived for and putting them in a new context. I think that at the bottom of all of it is that people walk through life for the most part and don't see what's around them. But I think that there's a good design element that somehow touches every single one of us in one form or another, whether we're cognizant or not. And I think more and more today, we're surrounded by things that are well designed. And so what I end up doing is taking it out of the context and bringing it into another dialogue. Sometimes somebody brings me something and it's really great and I want to use it and see what's going on with it and take it to a different place. Other times, it's something that's going on in my head that I want to translate onto it. So I did a series and they were the seasons. And what I wanted out of each piece was for the viewer to look at it and to see, oh yeah, that's winter, that's spring, that's fall, that's summer. It makes sense to me. So that was the problem involved in it. Another time it'll be a coloration. So there could be one that I wanted to use browns in because color is a predominant thing that's going on in my pieces. Brownies are not just for eating, was the one I was referencing when I wanted to make something that was brown because it has really such nice depth to it. This one is Diva, and that one was directly related to the DSO. The black triangular pieces with a little white on them is the string section, actually. So it's really sort of representational in a way. The piece with the big computer board in it is everything works out just fine in the end. It was a struggle to get that piece done. And it's like, I think that a part of the aging process of life is that you know, like in the end, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna come out of it one way or the other. And it's the experience and the making of it that's all part of the learning process. So it all works. The piece that I'm working on there now is a piece that I came up with when we were up north. And I really felt the need to put this down in my own way, in my own terms, and see what would happen with it. So it's about halfway done, and it's at this decision-making point. Everything's always a decision-making point, but as you get closer to the end of the process, it's more critical to the piece itself. You know, are you gonna go with this, and what does this do in relationship to over here, and the coloration changes things. I have a lot of fun with the photographs and their names, as well as the sculptures. I think the parts of the piece sometimes suggest certain things, and that's how it goes. The photography is really an interesting thing that Alan and I started doing. He is a sports photographer primarily, as well as he does business shoots, corporate stuff. So we started doing this, and he shoots them from his perspective, and then I ask him to please shoot them from my perspective, and then we go back and forth on it. Then we come back and we edit them and go through them, and we build up a storage of shots. And there are layers and layers of different images that are combined to one final image. So they share a great deal with the sculptures in that they're layers on layers of media. They all happen to be just photos. I love that what it does, interacting with each other and the dialogue that it commutes to the viewer and to each other. Each piece that you lay down interacts with the next piece in a certain way, and there's a certain give and take. Art is a translation of humans on a different level, communicating with each other. So there's communication within the piece to bring about an entity, just as there's communication with people to bring about conversation. So I think that all the pieces bring in the viewer to join in the conversation and understand the dialogue that's happening all the way around.
What's up, guys? I am here with Jessica Hopkins, the curator here at the Museum of New Art. How you doing, Jessica?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. All right, so tell our viewers out there, what is MONA all about? How did it get started? And what is this place all about?
Well, the Museum of New Art was founded in 1996 by Jeff Bourgeot. It's a museum for artists, by artists. Its goal is to showcase new contemporary art that's happening locally, nationally, and globally. So we showcase a gamut of artists, from people that might be well recognized in the art world to, like, you know, my friend, your local artist.
All right, so you can give us a few name drops?
Sure, we've had lots of different artists. Some people might know Yoko Ono, Vito Acconci, Peter Halley, Saul LeWitt, Jenny Holzer. Those are some of the more New Yorkish sort of artists, but we also have shown a lot of local artists here, like Bruce Giffen, Judy Bomarito, Christopher Gideon, John McLaughlin, tons and tons of artists, thousands of artists, really.
So MONA is a pop-up museum. Can you explain that? What is that really about?
MONA is sort of everywhere. We pop up here and there. Like I said, it's been several years in the making. So it started in a closet in downtown Pontiac. A local business owner was friends with our director, Jeff Bourgeot, and said, you know, I like what you're doing. I've got this space. Would you like to do something with it? And Jeff said, you betcha. And so he started exhibiting work. And then it grew from there. For a few years in the early 2000s, it was on Washington Boulevard in the book building. MONA was there for a long time. They did a wonderful show there in response to the tragedy of 9/11, which is where I first met Jeff. Since then, you know, he moved back to downtown Pontiac. He occupied a 4-story building there for several years. Here we are in Armada, in another space that was donated to us by a great patron, Paul Smith. He has also lended us another space in Troy as well. So you can find us here, you can find us in Troy, you might find us in Detroit. We're often doing projects with Gallery Camille there on Cass Avenue. So
all over the metro.
We're all over the place, all over Metro Detroit, yeah.
All right, well, Jessica, thank you for talking to us. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
Thank you.
All right, now let's check out some upcoming events happening in and around the D. To discover more events in Greater Detroit, visit ixity.com. Up next is Gerardo Pareda Rosas, who's taking glass etching to the next level. He also expresses a deep love for his Latin American roots.
My name is Gerardo Pereda Rosas. I etch glass, and basically I could do glass tables, bottles, basically silver stuff, which is like could be metal or aluminum and stuff like that. Anything that could be scratched, I could draw on it. What I like to draw is Aztec heritage of the Aztec symbols, Aztec drawings, Aztec stones that they have seen and are in history. I get all the artwork together. If it's for somebody that's a present or something, it's basically what they want. And I kind of draw it out and then show them what they want. And then I get started with that. And then basically just get the basic outline, put it on the glass and then start scratching. It depends on how much detail is on the drawing. Sometimes when it's feathers, hair, it takes way longer because every little line is a little bit of detail and it takes a lot of time to do little lines at a time. With color, what I have to do first is kind of get the whole drawing done, and then I put a white ink on it, and then I use a razor and I kind of go over the top so it kind of takes off everything. And then what's on the line, it stays inside the line, so that's what keeps the color in there. Sometimes I add a little bit of color with the Sharpies and stuff like that, and then that's where the color kicks into. I started since I was pretty young. When I was like around 15 years old, 14, 15 years old, I started doing sunglasses and stuff like that for my friends and stuff. And then it started from there. And then basically I had a friend, close friend, that he started doing, I would see his drawings that he would do on glass, on cars and stuff like that. And I started asking him about like how do you do it and stuff. And then he started just showing me how he does it. And basically I started doing it on the cars too, and then my friends' cars, and then I started doing it on glass tables, and I started doing it on like tequila bottles and stuff like that. So it's like something new that people haven't seen, and I don't know, it's been around for a while, but here in Milwaukee we hardly see it. And I guess when I started doing it, I mean, everybody that started seeing my car, that I did the whole back windows and stuff like that, everybody started like, oh wow, you know, they started touching it and saying something good about it. So once I started hearing them liking it and the feeling of them enjoying the art, that's what kind of got me into liking that kind of style and how people like it and everything. So my favorite one is the Aztec calendar, which I have right here. And that's been my favorite. I have tried to get rid of it, but I kind of sometimes don't want to because I like it so much. And then usually for something like that, I take quite a long time. For this one, it took me about 2 weeks, and I will put like at least 5-6 hours a day. So it takes quite a while. I mean, all the detail, every line, everything put in the glass is kind of, you gotta take your time and, you know, put a lot of effort in it. I love the Mexican art, which is something that I grew up with, and I basically like showing it and like have people look at it and remember, you know what I mean, like our style, or people have seen it before but never seen it on a glass, but then all of a sudden it's like, wow, you know, the Aztec culture is like really important to me, you know, that's where I came from, that's where my family got raised in, so kind of love doing the artwork like that. I don't know, I mean, what people feel is what they like, you know, and if it's from their culture, they kind of feel more good about it because they see it. And when somebody does stuff like that, I mean, the people feel good about it, you know. When they see it and they like it, then I'm happy, you know. That's what makes me proud of my culture and stuff, So, I mean, once I see people with a smile and they like to take it home and stuff like that, then that's what makes me happy.
To find out more about Rosas, head to the Detroit Performs website. And that wraps it up for this edition of Detroit Performs. As always, for more arts and culture, head to DetroitPerforms.org, where you'll find featured videos, blogs, and information on upcoming arts events. Also, check us out on Facebook and Twitter. We'd like to thank the Museum of New Art for having us out here today. Head out to Armada, or keep an eye out for a pop-up museum in or around Detroit. Until next Tuesday, get out there and show the world how Detroit performs, y'all. I'm DJ Oliver. Thanks for watching, guys.
Funding for Detroit Performs is provided by the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs and the National Endowment for the Arts, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.